I was born in Michigan, and I wish and wish again that I was back in the town where I was born.
Hello, this is Darin Kimbler, and thank you for joining me for this presentation about my text set. Of course, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Darin Kimbler, and I'm an AmeriCorps member this year. Part of my position as an AmeriCorps member is that of literacy coach, but I also get to do some supplemental instruction in every subject. One thing I like about being a teacher, an elementary teacher, is that I get to teach all the subjects. But one of my favorite subjects is social studies. I love history. As a matter of fact, I currently live in a home that was built around 1887. And I love to read about and learn about the history of where I live and people who built my home and other things in my area. So I decided to do my text set based on a social studies unit in the 3rd or 4th grade range, and definitely concentrating on Michigan history. The text that I chose to incorporate into this text set are a variety of text that cover a wide range of reading levels. Somebody in 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd, and 4th, and even up, could find something interesting to read in this set of text. And even non-readers may be able to enjoy some of what I have here. My goal for this is to try to get students to have a love or an interest in history, kind of like my own. I would like students to not just be able to explore a little bit of Michigan history because I'm telling to, but I want to get them to want to learn more about the place they live and the history of our world. So in order to do that, I thought I'd start with a picture book. This picture book, The Story of the 5-Mile Poem, is a story about building of the Mackinac Bridge, the Mighty Mac, as you might say, and it's an excellent story that talks about a student perspective of what was going on during the years when the bridge was being built. Next item in my text set is a narrative, and this narrative is a story of a settler family that came to Michigan. They were pioneering in the woods, and along the way they had made contact with some Native Americans. One little girl, who the story is mainly about, an 8-year-old, befriends another girl who is an 8-year-old Native American girl. And the story tells a little bit about the relationship they have and the things that they do while living in Michigan many, many years ago. The next text is called The Michigan Reader. Historically, a lot of classrooms have had readers or primers in them. This is just one that's sort of geared toward Michigan. In fact, it has something for everybody. It has an alphabet, it has poems, it has short stories, it has lots of versatility for something to read in the classroom. Any 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade classroom would be able to enjoy this book. I have a magazine. Magazines are great. Kids really enjoy the vivid color pictures. And the articles are brief, and the language they use is very simple. So lots of kids enjoy the magazines, especially the ones that are geared towards kids. Well, lots and lots of beautiful things exist here in Michigan, and so why not share that as well? And so this photo book is something I'm using to kind of stir up some memories or some thinking. I'm hoping that the kids will be able to find something in this book that will trigger a memory or a source for a good writing project. Well, not everybody gets to travel, but you don't have to sometimes. Sometimes the things that are great worth seeing are right in your own backyard. That can be true said about Michigan, of course. The Mackinac Bridge, not far away, and of course many other great things here in Michigan. This little travel guide tells us a lot about the things that Michigan has to offer travelers. And of course, Michigan.gov website has a link for students, and I'd like to use this link to do maybe a web quest, or at least dig a little deeper into the history of Michigan. And no greater resources there than the government website itself, especially if they have one that's geared towards kids. You might ask, well, what are the standards that you're drawing upon for this unit? Well, the Michigan State Standards, the history of Michigan, generally for third grade, has a lot of things that parallel with some of the topics that you've obviously seen in here. Native Americans, settlers, history of Michigan, and how they adapted and used their environment, a variety of sources that describe the interactions that occur between Americans and Indians, and the list can go on and on. But I'm going to start with these basics for my unit. Now, what content area strategies will I use to convey these lessons? Well, I'm hoping that some of these books will be great for reading aloud. The strategy that I like to use, a read aloud strategy, is called ELVES. It's excite, listen, visualize, extend, and savor. All the things that you do for any great read aloud. They're basically pre-reading, during, and post-reading activities. Literature circles, always an excellent way to delve into a book. I think the narrative might be perfect to read the story as a small group and have everybody take a role and do some literature circles in that way. And of course, the author of these books, Gloria Whelan, has many other also appropriate texts that kids could read so that we could get a sampling of more than just one text. Reader's Theater. Well, back to the Michigan Reader, I think that lots of great opportunities for choral reading and perhaps producing a skit or play based on the short stories that we've read. The writing break. Well, in the photo book, students will have an opportunity to take a look at what's there and think about something that they can write about. Take a little break. Write about what you're thinking, seeing, experiencing. Of course, all of these texts have different features. Many of them, informational texts, have specific features that can be outlined and identified. And so it would be my hope that through the course of reading through these materials, that there would be time to discuss and build the student knowledge about text features. And a web quest with the Michigan Gov website, of course, I think would be an appropriate use of the technology. I also like to include in every unit that I do some type of think, write, pair, share. And that's where a student will have the opportunity to think about what is being read or talked about, write a little bit about it, pair up with a partner, and share those ideas with a partner and maybe even a whole group if the time allows. Everybody likes a good story. And Michigan history is just that, a good story. And I don't know about you, but I have not yet met a kid who isn't interested in hearing a vivid and colorful story about something that they care about. And what kid doesn't care about the place they live? Finally, I used a host of references and figuring out what books to use in this text and how to use these books in text. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this PowerPoint presentation of my text set based on Michigan history.